What's going on, guys? Welcome along to another video. I'm Matt and Zoe, and today we are taking out the Honda NC750X for 2024. Now this bike is coming in at a fairly reasonable £7,949. So is £8,000 all you need? Does this tick enough of your boxes to cover everything you want between the commuter, the tourer and the sport fun bike? Well, let's find out. The NC750 is one of the bikes that comes with the optional DCT, so dual clutch transmission, so you can either have it manual or DCT. This is the DCT variant. I can tell that because it's got no clutch, which also means it's got no gear lever peg down on the left hand side. I've no doubt throughout today's ride at some point I will start grabbing for it or start pushing for that peg. It's just natural. I tend to find it is when like there's a traffic light or a roundabout or I'm having to stop quickly, I'm just naturally getting on the clutch and going down the gears. If you do want to poodle around town, obviously you can do that, but this has got more than enough grunt to get you out any problem. In essence, being an automatic bike, around town is super easy. You don't have to worry about stalling it. Throttle is nice and smooth, but then when you get onto the back area and you want to get into the B roads and the twisties and have a bit more fun, you can put this into manual mode, which then you can use the thumb and finger gear changer on the left hand side. It's great to see more manufacturers are actually bringing out this kind of automatic gearbox style into some of their bike range. Obviously Honda's got their DCT. I think potentially in some of their bikes like the CBR 650R, they've got a new version called the E-clutch. And BMW, they've also got their AST. I don't know, I'll put it on the screen. It just makes riding more accessible to people that may have an injury or like an illness or something, especially on their left hand side with their hands or their feet, arthritis, whatever it may be. Just means the people can stay riding for longer. Looking at the engine then, we have got 740 cc's, 69 newtons of torque and 58 brake horsepower. Those numbers are not the biggest, but this bike is not there to be your all-out Sunday sport weapon. This thing is trying to cover quite a broad spectrum of bikes. We've got a few different rider modes. At the minute I've got it in sport. Throttle response is quite nice and it does get you going. Looking at some of the electronics then, with it being on the cheaper side of bikes, it is not packed. We've got what I would call a fairly small screen at the front. It's not a colour TFT, it's your old school LCD style. Hopefully the mic is picking up my voice okay. It is a little bit windy out here and this screen just isn't providing a whole lot of protection. Looking at the modes then, we have got sport, standard, rain and user. Obviously user, you can go in and change the parameters between the traction control, the engine braking and then the power delivery as well. Looking at the ergonomics then, the flickability on this bike is it actually handles really nicely. Just blips back and forth. So getting this into the twisties, it'll be absolutely no problems. Looking at the ergonomics then, I'm 6'1", 115 kilos. The seat is low. You definitely feel quite low into the bike. Rather than sat on top of the bike, you're kind of quite in it. Seat height of 800mm, which means I've got both feet flat on the floor when they are stationary. And handlebars are in a really nice, relaxed, comfortable riding position as well. Triangle between my hip, knees and feet is a kind of a relaxed position. Add all that and whatever you got something that would be comfortable to do long distance touring on. In my eyes, we've actually still not covered off the best part about this bike, but I'm not going to show you that until we stop, because I think you need to fully understand how good this extra feature is on this bike, which is not many bikes out there that has it, so that's cool. If you're not afraid to apply some force onto the brakes, they're okay, but we do have single discs front and rear. We've got a single 320 at the front and then a 240 at the rear. Not the most stopping power we have on bikes, but again, for that price point, they've had to keep costs down somewhere. When you want to get on it, this bike will take you there. So as standard with my weight, the suspension is a little bit bouncy. So if I was to get this bike, I would definitely have to get the suspension tuned. But then again, most stock suspension, no matter what the price, isn't set up for my weight. On these back roads, you can definitely have some fun. Whether you leave it in auto or put it into manual, you can still have fun on this bike. At the minute, on the LCD screen, it's saying we're getting 13.7 miles per litre on average. This bike comes with a 14 litre fuel tank. It's like with anything, depending what mode you're in, depending on how you're riding. If you're on the motorway just cruising, you can definitely get that average up. Or if you're in the back rows like this having some fun, it's going to drop. Honda provide a few different packs that you can whack onto this. I'll put them onto the screen and then what comes in them. I think the highest or the most expensive one is around £1,100. But I know you've got like the adventure pack, the touring pack, the commuter pack. So it's nice that they give you different options, but also if you don't want to buy a pack and you want to buy the stuff individually, you can do. You can still get panniers and get your back box, all the luggage space you'll need to do any form of touring. Like I said, it just handles really nicely. Okay, so we've pulled over, have a little look around. But like I said about the best feature of the NC750 is this, in my opinion. Take the key out, put it in here, twist to the right. Oh yes, not a fuel tank, but a 23 litre storage capacity. This thing has got all my camera gear in, my lunch, my drinks, whatever I need. It can also fit a full face helmet. I think for having that on your bike is amazing. Most bikes, to have that much storage, would have to have panniers on. So the fact that you get this as standard on the bike, I really like it. So you can do some form of touring without needing any extra luggage whatsoever. You may be thinking, well, how do I fill this bike up? Well, if you push the key to the left, it releases the rear seat, and under that is where you fill the bike. And the reason Honda have managed to kind of have the bike this way with the storage and the fuel at the rear is actually because the engine, they've laid it down. So that means it's given extra space up here. So with that laid down, fuel tank kind of under this area, it means that is where all this extra space has just been created. Now tell me that isn't a good idea. This bike actually comes with 4 different colour options. You've got the black, the grey, the red and silver, or blue and silver. I actually think this red and silver looks really nice. This bike isn't going to turn heads with its looks or its power, but actually for the package complete, £8,000, I think that's it. It's still a really good bike, and I'm impressed with the DCT. Like I said, it's definitely got its uses. If you do want to test ride this exact bike, head over to Branston's in Yeovil, or if you are looking for something a little bit cheaper and lighter, I've actually just tested the NX500, so check that out as well. Well guys, nothing else to say but until the next one, ride safe.